Somewhere over the Alps this week, an American transport went down in bad weather and worse company. At Bikini, a whole fleet sits too hot to touch, and an admiral says so out loud. And in a city that lost its heart a year ago this week, the church bells rang anyway. This is the week that was, real as film, filed while it happened. Stay with us. Good evening, neighbors. It's Sunday, August the 11th, 1946, and the katydids have been going full chorus since Thursday night, which around here means summer's peaked and is starting down the other side. Tonight, an American plane down in Yugoslavia, the peace conference in Paris finally getting to work, a hard word from Washington on meat and money, the pennant race that turned upside down this very afternoon, and word from around the square you'll want to hear. We start where the week's real trouble started, over the mountains east of Italy. Friday, an unarmed United States Army transport plane, a C-47, was flying its regular run from Vienna to Udine when it lost its bearings in bad weather over the Alps. Yugoslav fighter planes went up after it, fired on it, and forced it down near the city of Ljubljana. Aboard were somewhere around 9 Americans and Allied passengers, airmen and by some accounts a Turkish officer and a couple of Hungarians riding along. Word is only the Turkish officer was hurt, but as of tonight, all of them are still in Yugoslav hands, and nobody outside that country has laid eyes on them since. The United States Embassy in Belgrade has been pressing hard all weekend for word on their condition and for their release. Belgrade, for its part, is not backing down. On this very day, the Yugoslav government handed our embassy a formal protest, complaining of what it counts as 172 unauthorized Allied flights over its territory since the middle of July. It says our plane ignored requests to land, and it's opened an investigation of its own. Now understand what that means. Yugoslavia fought this war on our side. Marshal Tito's partisans tied down German divisions our boys were grateful not to face. And now, less than a year and a half after the shooting stopped in Europe, his fighter pilots are putting bullets near American wings. It happens at the exact same hour that the peace itself is being written, 20 blocks from where Yugoslavia's own delegation sits, at a long table in Paris. That's no coincidence of geography. It's the temperature of this whole moment, allies from one war, feeling out how much they trust each other in whatever comes after it. Nobody is calling this an act of war. It's being called, carefully, by everyone involved, a serious incident under investigation. That's the honest state of it tonight. The families of those men do not have word that they're safe. Neither tonight do we. We'll bring you whatever comes, the moment it's confirmed. Now, the room where the peace itself gets written. You'll recall we left the wrangle open a couple weeks back, 21 nations in the Luxembourg Palace in Paris, and 11 straight days spent just arguing over the rules before they could argue over anything else. The fight was over how much a vote should count. The Soviet bloc wanted anything going to the foreign ministers to need 2/3. Britain, ourselves, and others thought a plain majority ought to carry weight too. This week it broke. The British compromise let both kinds of votes go forward, majority and 2/3 alike, carried in committee over Soviet objection, 15-6. Burns, our Secretary of State, put the American case plainly on the floor. Why, he asked, should we deny to the nations who fought beside us the right to even make a recommendation here? By Friday, the full rules were adopted, 15 votes to 4, 2 abstaining. 11 days of procedure settled. Now the real work, the actual treaties, can begin. And Saturday, for the first time, one of the defeated nations got to speak for itself. Italy's Prime Minister, Alcide de Gasperi, rose in that hall and said in his own language that he felt everything in that room was against him except the delegates' personal courtesy. He spoke for an Italy that switched sides partway through, that lost men fighting the Germans, too, asking the table to remember it when the treaty terms get written. Whether that argument moves anyone is still very much an open question, but for the first time, the men on trial by these terms had a voice in the room. That's worth marking. 1 year ago, this past Tuesday, the world changed over the city of Hiroshima. This week, the city marked it, not with speeches, but with quiet. At 8:15 in the morning, the hour the bomb fell a year before, the sirens sounded, and for 1 minute the whole city stood still. Christian, Buddhist, and Shinto services were held separately that day. About 1,500 people laid flowers and lanterns at a monument to the dead. Correspondents on the scene wrote of corn growing now in what were house plots, of 35,000 small houses already rebuilt on the outskirts, and of a mayor who hopes someday to make his city a place known for peace instead of what happened there. He puts full recovery at 20 to 30 years. We'll leave it there tonight, as the wires did, in quiet. Washington this week had a full desk and not much rest. Congress adjourned back on the 2nd, but the bills kept coming to the president's pen regardless. Friday, at his news conference, Mr. Truman said he'd signed about 180 of them, with 40 or 50 still stacked up waiting. The one that'll matter most at kitchen tables belonging to a veteran. Friday, he signed the Armed Forces Leave Act. For years, officers got paid for furlough time they never used. Enlisted men did not. That gap closes now, up to 120 days of leave pay, mostly settled in 5-year bonds for millions of the men who did the fighting. It won't put cash in a pocket tomorrow, but it's the government finally squaring a debt it owed the fellow in the ranks, same as the fellow with the bars on his shoulder. Saturday brought a different kind of birthday. 100 years to the day, President Polk signed the act creating the Smithsonian Institution, built on a bequest from an Englishman named Smithson for, in his words, the increase and diffusion of knowledge. Mr. Truman marked the day with a statement of his own, 100 years old, and still the nation's attic. Closer to home and a good deal less comfortable, the fight over meat. You'll recall meat, butter, milk, eggs, and grain came off price control back in June and have been running loose ever since, and running up. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says food prices jumped nearly 14% in a single month, meat alone up near a third. A new 3-man price decontrol board is holding hearings on it right now, this very week, in Washington. Ceilings snap back into place automatically a week from Tuesday unless that board says otherwise. Which way it'll go, nobody in Washington will say for certain, and neither will we, but every butcher counter in the country is waiting on that verdict same as we are. One more from the home front. Out in Missouri, the president's own primary fight went his way. The congressman he'd publicly vowed to see beaten, Roger Slaughter, lost badly to Mr. Truman's man. Asked about November, the president said his man will be elected, said it twice, and called that a categorical statement. Whatever else is unsettled this week, that much in Washington was not. Around the rest of the world, a few items worth your attention. At Bikini, Admiral Blandy told reporters this week that the target ships from last month's test will stay, in his words, untenably hot for a year if nobody touches them. His flagship sailed for home Saturday. Scrubbing them clean, it turns out, is proving a good deal harder than sinking them was. A third test, a deep water shot, is still on the Navy's books for next year. What becomes of the poisoned fleet meantime, the Navy hasn't yet said. In Palestine, the Jewish Agency, meeting in Paris, rejected the British-American plan announced last month and said it would discuss instead a Jewish state in part of the country. Reaction from Arab quarters has stayed cold. Washington has made no decision, and the president himself has said flatly, there'll be none over this weekend. At Nuremberg, the war crimes trial passed its 200th day of testimony Saturday, with 2 of Hitler's own field marshals in the witness box, each denying knowledge of what their own commands had done. The tribunal presses on. And a brief follow for those of you who wrote in asking, relief efforts continue for the earthquake that struck the Dominican Republic earlier this month. The Red Cross reports aid is reaching the affected coast. Now the weather, near and far. Nationally, it's been a quiet week for weather, and quiet is good news. No storms churning in the Atlantic, no washouts, no headlines out of the Gulf. It's simply been a cool August across a good part of the country. Some of the mildest early August weather in years. Kind to livestock, kind to the corn, kind to anybody still canning over a hot stove. Here at home, expect more of the same feeling through the week. Pleasant evenings, a chance of a shower passing through, nothing that ought to spoil a Tuesday wash day or a Saturday ball game. Keep half an eye on the sky and both feet on the porch. That's about all the weatherman owes you this week. Down at Dot's Diner Thursday, the talk at the counter was, as usual, about money, specifically what things cost and what they used to. Dot herself will tell you butter's still selling for more than she's ever charged for it, and beef isn't far behind, though both have eased off a few cents from where they stood back in July, which everybody agreed was something, if not much. The reason, if you want it plain, price controls came off meat, butter, milk, and eggs back in the early summer, and prices have been finding their own level ever since, mostly upward. A new board in Washington is deciding this very week whether the old ceilings come back. Sugar, meanwhile, is still the one thing left on the ration book on account of the world shortage, and this happens to be the thick of canning season. So, if you've been hunting extra stamps for putting up tomatoes, you are not alone. There was better news to trade, too. The wheat crop coming into the bins this year is the biggest in the nation's history, better than 1,150 million bushels, and the corn crop behind it is shaping up to be one for the record books as well. Somebody at the counter pointed out Britain's put bread itself on the ration now. First time in the whole war they had to do that, and here we are sitting on the biggest harvest anybody's ever seen. Makes a fellow feel lucky and a little humble both. As for the little comforts, word from the dime store is a shipment of nylons came in, and for the first summer since the war ended, nobody had to fight over them. A new automobile is still a name on a waiting list more than a car in a driveway for most folks, and probably will be for a while yet. And the health board asks that you keep an eye on the little ones this month. It's shaping up to be a hard year for infantile paralysis in parts of the country. Nothing to be alarmed about here, just a season to be a little careful. Keep the children rested and out of crowds when you can. That's the kitchen table this week. Dearer than we'd like, better than some years, and nobody going hungry. Now for the game itself, and there's plenty of it. Up in the American League, Boston is simply running away with it. 77 wins against 33 losses, 13 full games in front of the Yankees. Ted Williams put an exclamation point on it Saturday at Yankee Stadium, 2 home runs, his 30th and 31st of the year. And Sunday's doubleheader in the Bronx drew better than 72,000 paid. Down in Cleveland, our own Bob Feller threw a one-hitter against the White Sox Thursday, his 8th career one-hitter, which breaks a major league record that stood since the days of Addie Joss. He's chasing his own strikeout record now, and by all accounts, closing fast. But the real fireworks came in the National League, and they came today. Brooklyn woke up this morning sitting 2.5 games in front of St. Louis. By the time both games ended this afternoon, Philadelphia had swept the Dodgers, St. Louis had swept Cincinnati, and the whole race had collapsed down to a half a game, with the summer not even done. It is, without a doubt, the best pennant race baseball has given us all year, and neither club looks ready to let go of it. Closer to home, it's been a good week for our own Legion Millers, too. Coach Burkett's boys backed up young Pete Marsh's game-winning hit from a couple weeks back with 2 more wins this week, and there's honest talk now, for the first time since 1941, of this club actually taking the district. I ran into Coach Burkett himself outside the hardware store Friday and asked him how the club was shaping up.
Ray, I'll tell you the same thing I told them in the dugout. Throw strikes, run hard, and pick each other up. Do that enough Tuesdays in a row, and district takes care of itself.
He wouldn't say more than that, but I noticed he didn't light that cigar he carries either, and Emmett Burkett only holds off on that cigar when he thinks something's worth saving it for. Half that roster's kid brothers of the boys who wore the uniform in '41. If they do bring it home this September, it'll mean something past a trophy case, and everybody on that diamond knows it. And now the news from around our own square. First, a happy piece of business the whole town's been following. Miss Vera Hale, Maple Falls High, class of '39, the girl half this town watched grow up over her father's shoe shop on Water Street, has been kind enough to stop in on her tour and join me here at the desk this evening, all the way from the city.
Ray, it is a strange thing hearing your own voice come out of the same radio you grew up listening to on Water Street. I've been wanting to say hello properly for 2 weeks now, ever since Walt started spinning that record.
2 weeks running on WMPQ before it even reached the 5 and dime, and I don't believe your mother's scrapbook has caught its breath since.
She sends me every clipping Frank Kessler prints, whether I ask for it or not. I've told her I know I'm from Maple Falls. She doesn't need to keep reminding me by mail.
Frank, since your name's just been taken in vain, anything to add?
Only that the Courier printed her first review before this station ever spun her first record, Ray, and I'd be obliged if that got said on the air at least once.
Said, and now on the record twice over. Vera, any chance of that county fair promise finally coming due?
Ray, you're as bad as my mother. Let's just say I haven't forgotten it and leave it there for tonight.
Fair enough. We'll hold you to it same as everyone else does. Wonderful to finally have you on, Vera.
Wonderful to finally get here. Good night, Maple Falls.
Elsewhere on the square, the housing hunt goes on. Sergeant Johnny Marsh and Miss Alice Purdy are still counting on that September wedding at First Methodist, but the rooms to put a household in haven't turned up yet. The Elm Street place and an aunt's spare room both looked at, neither one settled. They're hardly alone in it. The county council takes up the fairground barracks question again next month. Mayor Guthrie still for opening it to veterans' families, a few of the square's merchants still against. No vote yet, but no shortage of families waiting on one either. And over at Drummond Tool and Die, the retooling from fuses to hand tools is grinding along about the way you'd expect. Old man Drummond still promising nobody loses their job over it, and a good many men on that floor still keeping their own quiet count, just in case. We'll keep an ear on all three of those, same as always, and bring you word the moment there's word to bring. Coming up, Walt Denderby takes the second-floor studio and the turntable for the evening's music program, including, at long last, that record of Vera's you've all been hearing about. From the second floor above the furniture store, take care of each other, neighbors, and keep your porch light burning. I'll see you Sunday. That's the week. This is Ray Colton, WMPQ, Maple Falls. Good night.
Evening, Maple Falls. Ray's put down the wire copy, and I've got the turntable warmed up, so let's not waste the quiet. We'll open with a couple built for a porch and a screen door. Stan Kowalczyk and his Polka Kings first, then the Water Street Six right behind them. That was Stan Kowalczyk and the Polka Kings with a polka that never once sits still, and the Water Street Six sliding in behind with automat blues. And I'll tell you, the trombone man on that record plays it like he's leaning on a lunch counter. Now here's the Falls Four boys who rehearse over Ainsley's drugstore and swear the fountain syrup improves the harmony. Serenade first, and Summer on the Square rides right in behind it.
The street lamps glow on Maple Street, where sweet and quiet memories meet. The courthouse clock strikes 9:30, and all is peaceful, all is fine. Oh, my sweet old hometown under the moon, the stars are humming a familiar tune. No matter how far my traveling feet roam, the silver light on the valley calls me home. The scent of pine upon the breeze whispers through the willow trees. The front porch swing is swaying slow in the golden amber shadowed glow. My sweet old hometown under Rome, the silver dew on the valley halls me home.
Under the stars we feel so blessed. Oh, down on the square, porch swings are swaying there with a cold glass of sweet lemonade. While we watch the big parade, the band shell plays a happy tune underneath the summer moon. The children run and chase the sparks of fireflies across the parks. Grandpa tells a tale or two under skies of deepest blue. There is no place we'd rather be than in this lovely company.
The Court Street Trio there on Summer on the Square. The Kessler sisters, mind you. And I don't know a record that sounds more like a Tuesday evening on this town's own square if you paid somebody to write one. Had a visitor up here in the studio earlier tonight, by the way, Miss Vera Hale herself, sitting right where Ray does his reading. Good to finally put a face to that record we've all worn thin. Sliding into the wire room rag now, and it'll ride straight into the Rock of Ages quartet after two very different kinds of Sunday, back to back. That rag always makes me picture the operators up at the telephone office keeping time with their feet, and the quartet behind it brings you right back down to earth, the way a good hymn ought to. Here's one for the ball club, and I don't care how many times I've spun it this summer, Miller's Victory March, with the overture for a small town riding along behind. Miller's Victory March and the overture right after. And if Coach Burkett's club keeps winning Tuesdays the way Ray says they are, I may have to wear that first record clean through by September. Now we ease down a little. Wish you were here tonight first, and the county line hoedown wakes everybody back up right after it. That hoedown's the one that gets Howard Pell tapping his foot down in the front office, and he'd never admit it to your face. Last two of the night now. A quiet one to bring us home. Our own Nelda Prue at the console organ with Sunday console reverie. That's about the sound of a house settling in for the night, isn't it? That'll do it from up here for another week, neighbors. Thank you for sitting with us and for letting an old record hound talk your ear off a little. Rest easy tonight. And now, as WMPQ leaves the air, our national anthem.